Number 9. Fox family. In January of 2016, a mansion in Nashville, Tennessee, burst into flames due to a faulty hoverboard, prompting a narrow escape by its 2 teenage occupants. Megan and Brian Fox had researched which brand of the popular transporter was the best, and at Christmas bought a Fit Turbo F1 as a gift for their children. The transporter was plugged in and charging when it suddenly combusted in their 4,000 square foot home. The Fox's teenage son and daughter had heard the commotion downstairs and initially decided to hide because they thought intruders were inside. After realizing what had actually happened, they started looking for a way out of the smoke-filled home. Brian arrived shortly after he'd heard that a fire had broken out. Looking back on the incident, he remembered that he'd started kicking down the doors while thinking, "I'm going to lose 2 of my 4 children today." Fortunately, his son used a rescue ladder to escape the mansion. His teenage daughter had become trapped on the 2nd floor. She kicked out a window and spotted her father outside, who was shouting at her to jump. Without hesitation, the teen leapt into his arms. Both she and her brother were taken to the hospital, but their injuries were reported as minor. It's unclear if the Fox family planned to rebuild the mansion, which had sustained at least $1 million worth of damage. The incident that had affected them wasn't an isolated occurrence. By July of 2016, the Consumer Product Safety Commission had logged 99 reports of hoverboards smoking, sparking, or catching on fire, and a recall was issued for more than 500,000 hoverboards from various manufacturers. Number 8. Timothy Cade. Aside from being notoriously hard to balance on, hoverboards are also known for their tendency to explode or suddenly burst into flames. In 2015, Alabama man Timothy Cade was riding a hoverboard he'd purchased from a seller on Amazon. He turned it on and got less than 100 feet down the road when the transporter caught fire underneath his feet. He didn't sustain serious injuries, and a video he recorded in the aftermath showed the flaming hoverboard in the middle of the sidewalk. His mother tried to pour baking soda on it, hoping to quell the blaze, but it only started to die down after Cade intervened with water. The principal reason for hoverboards blowing up is the transporter's lithium-ion batteries, the same type of power pack that's present in laptops, tablets, or cell phones. The liquid electrolyte inside is highly flammable, and it can heat up so quickly that it may cause the battery to explode. While faulty chargers can also be a contributing factor, a hoverboard may blow up, like in Cade's case, when it isn't connected to an outlet. The issue of overheating batteries has largely been addressed in the case of cell phones or other electronics, but since hoverboards are fairly new, safety regulations are still being developed and the market is also flooded with faulty products. Given the dangers of hoverboards, multiple US airlines have banned them aboard their aircrafts. Number 7. Joanne Ensel. In 2015, a woman from High Wycombe, England, suffered severe burns after a hoverboard unexpectedly exploded in her bedroom. Joanne Ensel had bought the self-balancing scooter for her 10-year-old son in late October, and while she didn't give the retailer's name, it was described as a reputable store. About a week after the purchase, on November the 7th, the hoverboard was on the floor of her bedroom. Some news outlets reported that it was being charged at the time, but Ensel refuted those claims. The woman said that as she was lying in bed, the hoverboard suddenly burst into flames. Ensel sustained serious burns which required treatment at the Stoke Mandeville Hospital. Speaking on the incident, she noted that only a few moments before the transporter exploded, her son had carried it in his arms. Thankful that her child was unhurt, Ensel referred to hoverboards as death traps and told a media outlet that her family continued living in fear in the incident's aftermath. Number 6. Humphreys family. In 2018, a family from Pensacola in Porthmadog, Wales, was left homeless following a blaze caused by a hoverboard. 29-year-old Tammy Humphreys was outside with a friend when her 11-year-old daughter came rushing out the back door. The child had noticed sparks and noises coming out of the transporter, which had been left to charge in the hallway. Humphreys then saw that flames and thick black smoke had begun to fill the inside of her home. She couldn't open the front door and called the emergency services. The fire station was located less than a mile from the family's residence, but it was part of the retained duty system, meaning that it wasn't manned full-time. It took roughly 20 minutes for fire crews to arrive on location, a time during which Humphreys could do little else except watch her home be ravaged by the blaze. Her 4 children, aged 6 to 11, were upset that they'd lost all their toys as the smoke and soot had rendered virtually everything inside the home unusable. They could no longer live in the house and had to stay with family. Even though she referred to the fire as the worst thing that had ever happened to her, Humphreys felt fortunate that none of her children had been hurt. It was, however, a very close call. The fire had started at the bottom of the stairs, meaning that anyone in the upper level would have rapidly been trapped and likely would have succumbed to smoke inhalation. Number 5. Brandi Glanville. In 2016, Brandi Glanville, of the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills fame, severely injured her arm following an iWalk hoverboard fall. The 46-year-old didn't elaborate on the incident but added that she was officially done with the personal transporters. The tumble left Glanville with a hairline fracture in her forearm, and she required an additional 6 stitches. Following the accident, she took to Twitter and shared a picture of her swollen arm. Glanville also told her followers that she was allergic to pain medication and that due to the antibiotics, she couldn't have any alcohol. It meant that the reality star would have limited relief in facing the pain associated with her injury. Number 4. Mark Tamlin. In December of 2015, Mark Tamlin's son opened up his Christmas present to find a brand new hoverboard. The boy's initial delight turned sour as he soon discovered that the toy wasn't working. Tamlin, a civil engineer from Surrey, England, decided to try and repair it. To that end, he contacted the online company that he'd bought it from and was sent a video tutorial. 39-year-old Tamlin believed he'd fixed the hoverboard, but his son told him that it was still faulty. It was at that point that Tamlin decided to try and ride it himself. Within moments of getting on, he was thrown into the air and as he landed, struck the ground with the back of his head. His partner, Angela, drove him to the emergency room. Tamlin survived his head injury, but as he woke up in the hospital, started displaying amnesia symptoms, which may sometimes occur in the case of a concussion. When asked by the doctors what year it was, he reportedly answered that it was 2010. He didn't remember the day of the accident nor the Christmas celebrations with his family. Tamlin reportedly didn't recognize any of the presents he'd received and could only piece together the events of the past days from photos shown to him by his family. In the immediate aftermath, Tamlin still suffered headaches, but his memory problems gradually dissipated. He was ultimately grateful that he was the one on the hoverboard and not his son. Number 3. Nawaf Al-Tuwayan. In 2015, a British teenager died in a horrific accident after falling off his hoverboard in the middle of a busy road. Nawaf Al-Tuwayan was riding the transporter while out buying milk for his mother. According to 33-year-old eyewitness Jeffrey Mingle, the teen didn't look confident on the hoverboard. He was unsteadily balancing back and forth in Glacier Way, northwest London, before he was thrown face first into the street. Al-Tuwayan tried to get back to his feet when a bus came round the corner and struck him. The driver hadn't even seen him in the road. The vehicle kept going and Mingle ran after it, banging on its side while trying to alert the driver. By the time that the bus came to a halt, Al-Tuwayan had been dragged underneath it for roughly 200 yards. He suffered devastating injuries from which he wouldn't recover. It took over half an hour for the bus to be raised and for first responders to recover Al-Tuwayan's body. Described as careful and experienced by his colleagues, the driver wasn't considered to have been responsible for the tragic accident. It was illegal at the time for hoverboards to be ridden on the pavement and on the road, as they weren't approved by the European or British test schemes for road legal vehicles. Today's topic was requested by Instagram follower Uniquely You by Mishka. If you have any other topics you'd like to learn about, subscribe and let us know in the comment section below, or follow us on Instagram and reach out to us there. Number 2. Nick Spurlock. In July of 2020, a student at the Davy Crockett High School in Jonesboro, Tennessee, was nearly killed in a hoverboard accident. Nick Spurlock, who was described as a gifted football player, suffered a horrific fall that left him with injuries requiring emergency surgery. Spurlock's vitals were reported as steady throughout the procedure, which repaired a crack in his skull and stopped the bleeding in his brain. The teenager's friends and family, as well as many other members of the community, held a vigil for him in the Johnson City Medical Center parking lot. While no updates on his condition were made immediately available, it's believed that Spurlock has recovered since the accident. Number 1. Unnamed Filipino man. In January of 2016, an unnamed Filipino man suffered a fatal hoverboard accident in Dubai. According to Colonel Saif Muhir Al-Mazrui, head of the Dubai Traffic Police, the victim collided with a lamppost in Mushrif Park and suffered critical injuries. It was reported as the second fatal incident involving hoverboards to have occurred in the United Arab Emirates, and the first in Dubai. Al-Mazrui told a media outlet that he'd encountered several similar accidents in the past. In one of them, the rider had been severely injured after the hoverboard had suddenly stopped working and they'd fallen face first into the street. Another similar fall ended with the rider breaking their arm. In the Emirate, the police had warned families about the dangers of hoverboards, and riding them on public roads was forbidden, with officers instructed to confiscate them on sight. Thanks for watching. Would you rather only use a hoverboard to get around for a month, or spend an entire year only walking barefoot? Let us know in the comments section below.